Guys, we are going to be doing a very powerful talk on water today. You're going to find how 98% of the conditions that you may be facing or conditions that your family members may be affected by can be impacted just by increasing or drinking the right amount of water. I'm going to take a deep dive into some of the conditions. I'm going to take a deep dive into the biological effects. I'm going to take a deep dive into the psychological and the spiritual effects of drinking water and how it can change your life today. Stick around, stay tuned. Fantastic. Glory be to God. Okay, so you can see I've been drinking a lot of water today. That's like 9 times I've been to the toilet just on that water. Have everybody been using this alkaline water, the alkaline water I've been using? Has everybody tried it yet? Have you tried it, Errol? You need to try that water. It's very, very good. Very, very hydrating. But it makes you really, really go. But that's how you want water to be. You want water to really be flushing you out. If it's not annoying, then it's not working. If it's not making you go to the toilet so you're annoyed, it's not working. But when you know you're going like 4, 5, 6 times, you know that stuff is coming out of you. If you're not going to the toilet more than 3, 4 times a day after you've been drinking, then you know all those impurities are still in your body. So you got to get them out. Oh, you got one. Well done. Yeah, hold on. That's the one. Very, very good water. Anyway, so it's an honor and a pleasure to be here today to share with you, to impart the blessings and the grace that God has put upon my life to empower his people. So I'm really grateful that all of you have shown up today to come and partake. And I pray that you will be inspired and encouraged and uplifted to take action based on what you hear today. In Jesus' name, amen. I've observed a lot of conditions, philosophies, perspectives, approaches. But the one that has stood out to me the most, more than any other philosophy, is the biblical philosophy. And that biblical philosophy, or that biblical principle, is the one that God says, above all, I wish to see you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. No other religion, no other faith, no other doctrine puts health as an important precept as much as the Bible. So that's really resonated with me and really kept me grounded and keep me to really draw in and drill down on how God is using health to empower his people. There's something I'm going to use today to really underpin what we're speaking about. Your health is important to God, yeah, and I'm hoping that it's just as important to you as well, because not everyone takes their health that serious. One of my mentors, Dr. Miles Monroe, he once said, when the purpose of a thing is not understood, abuse is inevitable. What is abuse? It's the abnormal use of something. So when you don't understand the purpose of your body, it's naturally going to abuse your body. Does anybody here abuse their body? Okay, one on this person at the front. Okay, anything that you do for your body or to your body that's not benefiting your body or not enhancing the well-being of your body is classified as abuse. If you take drugs, you're abusing your body. I don't even mean hard drugs. I'm not talking about cocaine or heroin. I'm talking about you drink Coca-Cola. That's drugs. You take alcohol. That's drugs. You vape. That's drugs. I remember when I did a course, I was teaching students in Southwark College. And I said, who here takes ease? Nobody put their hands up. I said, okay. Who takes Sunny Delight? Everyone put their hands up. I said, have you seen how many E's and preservatives are in Sunny Delight? Sunny Delight is full of E's, it's full of preservatives, that's drugs. But when the purpose of a thing is not understood, abuse is inevitable. So when you don't understand the purpose and function of your body, then it's inevitable that you're going to abuse it. What is the purpose of the body? It says it in 1 Corinthians 16. 1 Corinthians 3, verse 16, it says, don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells within you? What does that mean? Your body is a temple. Say, my body is a temple. Say it again. My body is a temple. People don't really recognize that their body is a temple. And it's not only a temple, it's actually the temple. Because a temple could just mean any temple, could mean any place. But the temple means it's the temple in which the Spirit of God resides. That's where he dwells. That's where he lives. Destroy this temple, and in 3 days, I will build it back up. Disciples thought, this building took 46 years to build. What do you mean you're going to tear it down and tear it back up, or tear it down and build it back up in 3 days? He wasn't talking about the physical building. He was talking about the temple of his body. So he's confirming there again that your body is your temple. So you may ask yourself, but how did your body become the temple of the Holy Spirit? So let's take it back to the beginning. In the beginning, when God formed man from the dust of the ground, in Genesis 2:7, he said, he's formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. As he breathed into him the breath of life, man became a living soul. So without the breath of life, you are dead. So that spirit that dwells in you is what gives you life. Without that, you have no life. So he gave you that, his spirit. And again, just to confirm that this is where the Spirit of God is dwelling and is living, he made sure Jesus always came to fulfill what was ever in the Word, what was in the Old Testament. He came to fulfill it. And he said, in John 20, Jesus said, peace be with you. The Father has sent me, and I am sending you. And with that, he breathed on them and said, receive the Holy Spirit. So that tells you that his temple is something that he guards very, very closely. And he places a very, very high value on this body that we have, that we use and we abuse and we take for granted. This is the body that God is calling his temple. So you together are that temple. And to show that how he guards it closely, he said, if anyone destroys God's temple, if anyone destroys that body, your own body, God himself said he will destroy that person. Did you realize that? So sometimes people think if they have sickness, it's always, oh, it's of the devil. It's somebody else. But sometimes it could be God himself letting you know that you've abused my temple for so long. He said he's long suffering, but he's not forever suffering. So there will come a time where he says, enough is enough. I cannot watch this temple that I built. I took time, painstakingly put together. Would you say beautifully and wonderfully fashioned and formed, to watch you continue to abuse it. So he said he will destroy the temple himself. So therefore, Paul said to Romans, therefore I urge you, my brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your true and proper worship. This is the true worship and proper worship. Honor your body. Look after your temple. Look after that thing that I live in. Look after my house. That's his house. As far as I'm concerned, that's his house. So that's what I'm going to use to coin my presentation for today. Honoring the temple. Honoring the temple. Now, honoring the temple is a very wide and broad subject because it covers many areas and there's many aspects to honoring the temple. So how am I going to break down honoring the temple into a bite-sized fashion that you'll be able to digest it and accept and receive what I'm saying? So I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to start today with just talking about one aspect of honoring the temple. And in another session, we'll talk about another aspect, and another session, we'll talk about another aspect. So each session will cover a different aspect of how we honor the temple to really bring ourselves into alignment. Water is one of the key elements for honoring your body. It's a very underrated resource. It's very well renowned because the body is 70% water, but it's highly underused because people, again, where they don't understand the purpose of a thing, abuse is always inevitable. So if people don't really recognize the full power of water, especially when it comes to their health, it's naturally they're going to abuse their opportunity and the water itself. So we're going to really drill down today and take a deep dive into the power of water for well-being. And as you know, with all things to do with the Spirit of God, there's always a level of duality. There's always this side if you do it well, that side if you don't do it well. You know, as you know, he's used water extensively for healing, also for judgment. He used water for deliverance when people were being set free from Israel, from Egypt. The Israelites were brought through the sea parted, and they were able to walk through into freedom. But that same water was used to bring judgment over the Egyptians. It was also used to bring judgment over the world when he brought the floods. So water is used in duality as with many things. It's also used to baptize, and it's also used to drown as it captured Jonah. So we have to look at the power of water and make sure we use it to our massive, massive, massive benefit. So as we know, the body is 70% water. That means every cell, every function, every organ, every tissue relies on a high supply of water. If you look at a body when the body decays and breaks down, all that you see is bones, skull and bones. Because bones make up 25% of the body. So the other 75% has disintegrated because it's water. It's broken down. Your skin, your hair, your nails, your heart, your muscles, your tissues, they're all made up of water. That's why when a body doesn't have, nobody has to put it in an oven, nobody has to put it in a fridge, no one's going to even put it anywhere. Just leave a body out there and it will decompose. All the water will just dehydrate, and all you see left is bones and teeth. That's the 25% that's left over. So we're going to look at the power of water, and we're also going to look at studies, so you can look at it scientifically, so you can see how scientists have studied these attributes and how they can impact the body and, more importantly, improve the way it is used and the way the body functions. So a common misconception is that water is often seen as bland, leading to underconsumption, and it actually overshadows its actual purpose. Many people don't like drinking water. Who here likes drinking water, by the way? Take notes, please. But also, if you have questions, feel free to write them down and ask them at the end. God willing, we'll have some time to do a live Q&A. So water is very underrated, but people underestimate its power. So we really want to make sure people really get to grasp the need and the perfect and powerful use of water for the body. So there's many conditions that water impacts. And people will be surprised to hear how important water is in some of these conditions. And sometimes water is the medicine, as opposed to taking medical or chemical-based interventions. Water is actually the best medicine, but people don't realize how many things you can actually use water for to actually bring into balance. Kidney stones. If people have kidney stones, UTIs, urinary tract infections, if you have hydration, is dehydrated. So if you have dry skin, probably because you've got a lack of water. If you have dry lips, you've got a lack of water. Headaches and migraines, again, very related to water. Fatigue, low energy. Oliver was sitting at the back. I said, Oliver, you need to drink some of this water. I gave him some of my water. I said, you need to try this water. It's very high pH, it's alkaline water. I'm not saying drink it all the time because you've got to keep a balance and keep things in moderation. But I said, here, take a bottle and try this for yourself and see how you feel. And after drinking one bottle, he said, you know what? I feel more awake. I feel more alert. I feel more with it and feel more present just because he drank 750 mils of water. So sometimes people may feel that they're hungry and they need to get a little pick-me-up or get some coffee or get a sugary drink or something sweet, when in actual fact, they're thirsty. That's the body telling them that I need water. Kidney failure and proper cognitive function, they're all linked to your ability to absorb and take in water. Let's look at some conditions that are very closely related to your ingestion and your body's ability to access water in the significant amounts, or should I say the amounts that it needs for optimal function. The first one is Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's is a condition that we see quite often when we're doing the body MRT health scans. We're able to detect Alzheimer's. We're able to see that the neurons that are responsible for regulating the function of the brain are starting to die off. And when they're starting to die off, we can see that they're going to start to develop certain symptoms. And these symptoms may be things like not remembering things that you should normally remember, like things like your PIN number, remembering your door number, or remembering the code to enter your building. Things that you use on a daily basis that you should remember that you're starting to find yourself struggling to remember. These are all early signs of Alzheimer's. And if you can catch Alzheimer's when it's at the Alzheimer's stage, which is at the disease stage, before it goes into full-blown dementia, you've got a very, very good chance of recovering and reversing it and bringing it back into order. Because as people get older, they tend to drink less. they tend to have a less demand or appetite for water. So by them drinking less water, they're increasing their risk of developing degenerative neurological conditions. So Alzheimer's is always the first sign, because that shows that you're not drinking enough water, and the memory starting to decline is another telltale sign. Arthritis. I don't know if I can use my little red pointer here. Can you see on the right hand side here, you see the blue, that's the healthy bone in the knee. And on the left hand side, you can see the dehydrated one. That one's dehydrated. You can see it on the that, but you can't see it on the screen. Let me point it on here. Okay, yes. So you can see here, the blue one, that's the hydrated vein, and the red one here, that's very dehydrated. So now these two pictures side by side, they really communicate a very clear situation. What it's showing you here, the one in blue, is showing that the synovial fluid, that's the fluid that regulates the flexibility of the joints, is well supplied with water. Because once the water levels in the knees and the joints are sufficient, it will cause that cushion to expand, and that will then provide a buffer between the bones either side. But when that cushion starts to become dehydrated because the body hasn't got enough water, that will start to become flat. And when it becomes flat, the bones will start to rub against the bones, and that's going to cause inflammation. And when that causes inflammation, you're going to start to feel pain. And then the bones, the tendons, the tissues that are surrounding that cushion, they will start to rub against each other and start to cause friction. That's when you start to have a more constant pain or consistent pain. That's when you start to go into a state of arthritis, where your joints become arthritic, which means they're inflamed. And we've seen many people with this condition, because once it starts to degenerate, the longer you leave it in that state of not having water, is the harder it takes to reverse it back, even when you start to drink water. But the first thing to start your journey to wellness and healing from being in a state of arthritis is to first start increasing your water. So within 3 days, within 7 days, they felt their knee literally fill out, and that function will start to return, and them starting to walk normally. We've seen that happen on many occasions. So studies have shown that staying hydrated can help keep joints lubricated and reduce pain and stiffness associated with arthritis. Alopecia. I know a lot of people are suffering with hair loss. Anybody here suffering with hair loss or hair thinning? Yes, it's a big problem. Now, when the hair grows on a daily basis, when the hair is functioning properly, you should lose 100 hairs. But if your body has the right level of hydration, the right levels of nutrition, the right level of function and circulation, you should also grow back 100 hairs. But when you start to lose 100 hairs, and because of the imbalances in your body, in particular your water intake, you'll start to find you grow back 70, or you grow back 60, or you grow back 50. And as a result of the reduction in the regeneration of those hair follicles, you'll start to find your hair will first start to thin, and then it will start to turn bald. Women tend to lose it at the front of the hair, and then eventually at the side, and then at the back. Men tend to lose it in the top middle. They call it male pattern baldness. Again, it's linked to your hydration. Studies have shown that proper hydration supports hair growth by ensuring that hair follicles receive essential nutrients, because water is used to carry the nutrients from the stomach to all the different locations in the body, in particular the extremities, which is the hair. So if you're losing hair, the first you need to look at is, what is your level of hydration? The higher the levels of water is, the greater your chances of minimizing back pain and associated problems becomes. Just like with the knee joint here, you can see my little pointer going the wrong way, back down. Okay, with here, you can see here, the blue line here, that's the hydration. On this side, you can see dehydration. Now, when people have things like sciatica is something that we attribute it to a condition that we've coined UCD. What is UCD? Unintentional chronic dehydration. That means you've been unintentionally been not giving yourself enough water, and you've done it for a continuous period of time, because chronic comes from the Greek word chronos, which means time. So when you've got a chronic condition, that means you've had it for a long time. So when you've been unintentionally dehydrated and you've done it chronologically for a long time, we coin it UCD. Now, when you start to have that dehydrated state becoming your natural state, again, the same cushions that are in between your knees, the same fluid, the same synovial fluid, it forms in between each vertebrae, each disc in the back. So when you get like the cushion in the back, in the spine, it starts to become flat because of the lack of water. Those bones and those vertebrae and those discs will start to rub against each other. Just like a train, when a train runs along the line on a platform. If there's those cushions that are out of place or they've come overused and they've gone flat, just one of them being out of place could cause the train to derail because it runs along that pathway at great speed. So just like your disc, if one of your discs collapses because of the cushion that's not there to support it, that will cause the nerves that travel up and down the spine at great speed, just like the train, to derail. So it will jump out of its normal pathway of travel. And now you're going to get a nerve that's out of its normal passageway. So it's going to start traveling up and down, trying to find its way home. What does that represent in your body? It's called pain. They call it sciatic pain because you got the pain, the nerve running up and down the back, up the back of your leg, up and down your spine, trying to get back to where it's supposed to go to. But because that cushion has become flat, you've now got bone rubbing against bone. So now the pathway of the nerve is now being derailed. How do you fix that? Very simple. The first thing you start to do, increase water. The bones that are rubbing against each other are now separated back into their normal pathway. The nerve that's been jumping out looking for a way back home automatically gets back onto its normal path. The pain disappears. I've had people that have said they've been doing a program for like 4 days because we increased the hydration. They're thinking they've had this pain for 9 months. How could the pain they've had for 9 months just start to disappear after 4 days? How is this possible? They can't grasp it because they're using logic, thinking I'm in pain in my back, I have to have some anti-inflammatory, I must have some kind of painkiller, I must take some steroids. No, you need to drink water. Studies have shown that dehydration can contribute to spinal disc degeneration, leading to back pain and sciatica. Brain health. We talked about brain health earlier. I don't know how this came chronologically in a way. It's come in terms of alphabetical order. It wasn't planned that way. It just sort of happened organically, but it's gone A to B. Now we're into brain. Brain health is definitely influenced by your level of water, your level of hydration. As Oliver sat at the back today, he said, wow, I've drunk this water and I could already feel alive. I can already feel alert. I already feel awake because water contains oxygen, H2O. And the brain without oxygen is going to start to starve the cells and the cells will start to shut down. When you have an extreme period or chronological period where it becomes chronic, starvation of oxygen to the brain, you get what's called a stroke. Because the brain will shut down because it hasn't got enough oxygen to surround and to function and supply the brain with its optimal levels of oxygen and water to provide its or to perform its daily function. So just from you not drinking water by 1%, you will find a significant drop in your brain function. That's why when you go to exams, or in the old days, they always used to have bottles of water, or they used to encourage you to have bottles of water in the exam room because it keeps the brain well stimulated with H2O, which is hydrogen and oxygen. So water is very key, especially if you know you're doing a job that involves having to use your brain a lot. Chronic fatigue is the same. To move nutrients into them or to move toxins out have not been fed, they've not been supplied. So now you've got an overload of toxins in the body, you've got an overload of toxins in the blood. They've now overwhelmed the cells, so those cells have now all become inflamed. So now you've got high level or widespread inflammation up and down your body, so you're going to be in a constant state of tiredness or fatigue. That's how they've coined the word chronic fatigue syndrome. What does that really mean? You've been tired for a long time. That's what it really means. But they've given you this lovely term, so it sounds really fancy, but this means you've been tired for a long time. But studies have shown that hydration is a key contributing factor to reducing your risk of chronic fatigue syndrome. Constipation. Now, constipation, we found that is one of the biggest causes of disease, because when people have any kind of blockage, that means food, waste, nutrients are not able to move through the digestive system and, more importantly, be eliminated from the bowels. So when you have constipation, that is a recipe for serious disaster and a lot of further conditions. So the water mechanism, it helps to soften the stools and promote better regular bowel movements, or what they call peristalsis. This is the muscles in the bowels that rely on water to squeeze and open and close to push and move that waste through. But if you haven't got enough water, it's going to slow down that process and cause that peristalsis motion to start to slow down, constrict, and then eventually it will stop. So you find that you having food in your system that's not breaking down, it's not being pushed through because you haven't got enough water, is now starting to cause you to have bloating. So not only have you got constipation, you've also now got bloating as a result of you not having the right amount of water to A, absorb the nutrients, and B, to move them through the system. If you haven't got water and you've got lots of nutrients or you've got lots of sugar going into your body, like you've taken a fizzy drink or you've taken a caffeine drink because you want to get a quick fix, but you haven't had enough water, that fix is going to have the opposite effect because it's now just sitting in the blood and it's becoming very concentrated. It's not able to go to where it's needed, which is to actually get into the cells. So your water is going to have an impact on your risk of contracting diabetes. And if you have diabetes, having the right amount of water could prevent you from developing further complications. As the studies have shown that proper hydration helps manage blood sugar levels and reduces the risk of having further complications. Save it, save it, save it, save it, save it. Now, dementia, as you said earlier, as you get older, we find that people tend to drink less. So the less they drink, the greater their risk of developing first Alzheimer's, and then it degenerating as they stay in that state chronologically for a long period of time. It becomes chronic dehydration. It will then start to set the stage for further degeneration where it will degenerate into full-blown dementia. And once you've gone into dementia, that means all of the cells that you require to bring you back into normal function and get the cells working, get the brain cells functioning, have all started to switch off and they've all started to die. So the more you can get your parents, your grandparents to have a consciousness of the need for water, is the more you're going to reduce their risk of developing Alzheimer's and then dementia. As soon as you hear they may have any risk or they've had a diagnosis saying they've got question mark, or they're considering that maybe they may have Alzheimer's or any early signs of dementia, start to ramp up their hydration levels, start to look at what their levels of hydration is. But just looking at the hydration alone, because even hydration will keep your mouth hydrated and will keep your flora in your mouth functioning more effectively and allow the acid and the pH level to balance themselves out a lot more effectively. So there's so many elements that water will affect, and there's so many aspects to having the right amounts of water, especially when you're trying to maintain a healthy level of brain function. Heart disease. Now, the heart is a very, very important organ, and there are many people that suffer with different levels of heart disease or heart failure or palpitations or many of the other cardiovascular maladies. Studies have shown that adequate hydration is linked to a lower risk of coronary artery disease. However, the heart is a muscle like other muscles in the body. However, even though it has valves, it still relies on a constant supply of water. They've really worked themselves hard. They've worked their muscles, their legs, their arms, their shoulders, all the muscles really worked really hard. And they get to a point where 90 minutes is over and the game has not been decided. They have to go into extra time. They may give them 15 minutes for the first half and 15 minutes for the second half. But oftentimes in that first half, by the end of that first segment, many of the players are dropping down with cramp because the muscles have been so depleted of water, and not only just the water, the electrolytes, the salts, the potassium, the calcium, the magnesium, they've been depleted from the system, so now the muscles are frozen. They can no longer expand and give them that flexibility in the movement that they need to run and chase after the ball. The same thing can happen with your heart. When your heart runs out of water and it remains in that state for a long time, your heart can get cramped. That cramp of the heart is called a heart attack. The heart will just freeze, can't beat anymore. It's become so dry, it's become so stiff, it's not able to open and close those valves. Blood can't get in, blood can't get out, the muscles can't constrict, can't contract. It's tired. It freezes. It's struggling to beat, you've got cramp. With footballers, they can get someone to come and raise their leg up, give them maybe a little massage, and they'll bring them on the Lucozade and electrolytes and a water drink or electrolyte drinks. With a heart attack, it's not that easy. Some people may not recover, but these things are very preventable. Hypertension, studies have shown that proper hydration can help in managing blood pressure levels. Now that's also going to help you to prevent yourself from developing hypertension in the first place. I had a client who came, he's a very fit guy, he's a property developer. He spends a lot of time on the phone speaking to other developers, speaking to his builders, his contractors. So he's using up a lot of water. And he was very, very obsessed with bringing his blood pressure under control. But he was about 45 years old, but he could not understand why, after him doing all of the things that he thought was the right things to do, he could not bring his blood pressure down. He was going to the gym 5 times a week. He was exercising. He said he was drinking lots of water. He was eating a low-fat diet. He was trying to do all the things that he heard were the right things to do to keep his blood pressure from spiraling, but his blood pressure kept on spiraling and he had to keep taking the medication. So he came and we did his scan and we identified a few areas, but nothing really major because he was doing, for the best part, most of the things right. But one of the questions that I eventually asked him was, so you say you drink a lot of water. Actually, how much water do you drink? And he said, I drink 2 liters a day. I laughed. I said, 2 liters a day. So let me just understand this. You get up in the morning, you go to your properties, you do your rounds, you speak to your contracts, you're on the phone, so you're using a lot of water, saliva, mouth dry. That's about 2 liters gone already. Then, when you finish the rounds, you're going to go to the gym. How long do you spend in the gym? About an hour. Okay, that's another 2 liters gone. Then, after the gym, he goes to the sauna for a good steam, sweating even more. That's another 2 liters gone. So how much liters has he used already? He's used about 6 liters, but he's taking in 2. So every day he's building up a deficit of 4 liters. So that 4-liter deficit is going to start to manifest itself somewhere. Now, bear in mind, the blood is 92% water. It relies on a high supply of water in order to keep the blood vessels lubricated and functioning. So if you don't have enough water in your blood, it's going to put pressure on the valves, it's going to put pressure on the arteries, it's going to put pressure on the heart to pump that blood around that big body that's been exercising and doing all this, making all these high demands with very, very little water. I see everyone's drawing for their bottles. I like it. Because if you're having lots of sweat, you're going to start tasting that salt. That means your sodium levels are high. And when you have sodium levels high, that's going to put more pressure on your cells, going to become even more dehydrated. Put more pressure on the heart, put more pressure on the blood vessels, puts more pressure on the muscle. Everything starts to become heavily stressed. So the pressure continued to rise, the adrenals continued to rise, and it was just a complete mess. So you've got to start increasing his hydration, you've got to start increasing his water drinking, you've got to start increasing his potassium, because potassium regulates the levels of sodium and actually brings down the levels of sodium. We've got to start increasing his calcium, his magnesium, all the what they call the electrolytes. These are responsible for carrying the signals and the electricity of the body to make sure the heart, the brain, all the hormones are working. And within 6 weeks, he was so over the moon that he finally got his blood pressure into range. He was so happy. And the biggest part of that was his levels of hydration. So hypertension is something that relies heavily on water. So if you know people that are struggling with blood pressure, try and get them to start first taking a look at what is their levels of hydration. Treating many skin conditions, because your skin relies heavily on the blood supply and the nutrients in that blood. Because if you haven't got a good supply of water, the nutrients that are in your body, that are in your blood, are not going to get to the surface of the skin, because that's the biggest organ. It protects the whole body and it goes everywhere in the body. The whole body is covered by your skin. So it's always going to rely on heavy amounts of water to make sure the skin remains healthy and, more importantly, hydrated. So if you have people that are struggling with skin conditions, acne, eczema, it's not the sole reason, but it's going to have a significant impact, because even bacteria are going to be affected by your levels of water. Because if you have heavy levels of bacteria and you haven't got enough water in your bowels, for example, that means the waste is going to build up and those bad bacteria are going to start to multiply. And if you're having those bad bacteria, you're having high levels of streptococcus or staphylococcus, which are the bacteria that are often behind eczema and skin conditions, then it's going to put your risk of developing dry skin and associated conditions even higher. So just by you increasing your water levels, it's going to impact your bowel movements, it's going to impact your blood flow, it's going to impact the cleanliness of your blood and the level of nutrient supply to the biggest organ in the body, which is the skin. So the more water you drink is the healthier and the more hydrated your skin is going to be, and the lower your risk of developing skin conditions will also be, because it helps to keep the elasticity and also the hydration and prevents dryness and irritation. Oliver said something very interesting earlier. He said normally when he drinks water, his body rejects it. And that's a very good point, and it's like a very common thing that happens with people when they drink water. They say their body rejects it because the cells don't want to take that in because there's so many impurities in the water that if you haven't got a filter to filter out those impurities, then your body becomes that filter. And oftentimes your body doesn't want to be the filter because it said, I've got enough things to filter as is already. I don't want to add more toxins on top to filter out, to add more of a burden to what I'm already trying to do. So sometimes the body will just reject the water outright and say, no, I don't want this. But when we gave him a water that we gave him, which was alkaline water, his body actually received it quite quickly. One, because it was at the right pH, and two, because it had the right balance of minerals. So the body was able to recognize the minerals and it was able to absorb them straight into the cells, so he felt hydrated straight away. Because not every water you drink is actually going to hydrate you, because you want the water to actually go into the cells where it's actually required. The first one we said is you can start to use what we call infused water. Now, infused water means you've got the same water that you drink normally, which your body's going to reject because it's maybe too bland or it's got too many impurities in it. So what you can do, you can add minerals into it. You can add fruits, you can add strawberries, you can add blackberries, you can add cucumber, you can add lemons, you can add watermelon. You can put so many fruits that are going to carry a lot of flavor, because if you're worried about the taste is a bit bland, you can put some lovely fruits, and your favorite fruits or your summer fruits or whatever fruits are in season, you could add them to your water and use that as a means to overcome that bland issue, if bland is taste is your thing, or you can use it to overcome the fact your body's rejecting it because of the minerals or the impurities that are in there, because some of these fruits will carry a lot of antioxidants that will definitely impact the quality of the water. Another thing you can do is you can use herbal teas. Now, herbal teas are a lot better than drinking normal tea, because herbal teas actually come from the ground because they are plant extracts. They have lots of good compounds, lots of healthy compounds in them that, again, the body will find beneficial and oftentimes medicinal. But while we're looking at things that you can do and alternative things that you can use to drink, we also got to look at some of the bad alternatives, because sometimes people think, oh, if I can't drink that water, let me go for sparkling water. Sparkling water is not a good option. I know some people think, yeah, let's take sparkling water because it's, it's a bit easier. It tastes like 7-Up or like Sprite, but it's actually going to cause more problems than you already have from not drinking plain water in the first place, because of the levels of gas, the levels of the carbon dioxide in there. You don't want to have sparkling water as an alternative. I had a client who was using pure sparkling water as her main water for the day, and she now has a very severe skin condition because the body wasn't receiving any of that water, any of that hydration that she thought was coming into her system through the sparkling water, because it was so over chemicalized with all the chemicals that the body did not see it as something you could use at all. Another thing you can do is use cold and filtered water. You can get a filter that you put in your fridge. These are really simple and easy to apply. You can buy them on Amazon. You can go to most places and get a good water filter, and this will help to remove some of the impurities that your body is rejecting, and that's preventing your body from actually absorbing and receiving the water into your cells. Flavor drops. Now, why I like flavor drops? Because flavor drops are things that contain plant extracts. They have different types of plant extracts that they use. They have different flavors. They have strawberries. They have freeze-dried strawberries. They have freeze-dried mango. They have all fruits that have been freeze-dried or spray-dried. Now, not every supplier will use plant extracts or natural raw materials. But if you are going to start venturing into flavor drops, then do your research. Check out the supplier, check out their ethos, check out the ethics of the company, and see if they're a flavor drop provider that actually uses natural ingredients to produce their flavors, as opposed to just trying to get something that really tastes nice. Because you can do that and it just fills you up with even more chemicals, and you end up being in the worst state than you were actually trying to achieve. Do we increase the levels and the amount of water that we intake? So the first one we looked at was you can start your day with water. Everyone starts their day with a shower. You shower the outside of your body. But how about showering the inside? Because the inside needs water more than the outside. Oftentimes people think, oh, I've got to get up and get my body washed because that's what I'm going to present to the outside world. But oftentimes what's going to get you to the outside world is the condition and the state of your insides. So you need to shower your insides as well. You need to have your inside, your inner shower. And the inner shower could be something that you just have just with 500 ml of water in the morning. It could be something you have with water and lemon. It's got to be something that you do habitually. It's got to be something that you do regularly. It's got to be something that you do consistently. That's how you get the long-term benefits. When you have good, healthy skin, because you're washing your body regularly, you're looking after your hair, you wash your hair regularly, your internal organs are just as important. Because if you don't, one of the things that you'll find, for example, we see some people that have what they call halitosis, or bad breath. Bad breath is nothing to do with your mouth, or if you don't brush your teeth enough, they think, oh, if I brush my teeth, I use mint, I take chewing gum, I'm going to get rid of bad breath. Bad breath is something that starts in the gut, because the gut has got too many bad microbes in there that are now starting to multiply and become the majority. And as they become the majority, that smell and the gas that they give up can start coming up through your esophagus and be coming out through your mouth, and you'll be breathing it into the atmosphere and the environment around you. Not washing your insides with your daily shower is just as important and has just as much detrimental effects as not washing your outside. So make sure you give your inner shower, your body an inner shower every single day. Another thing you can use, as I'm just going on to the bad breath, digress a little bit, but when people do have bad breath because of the state of their internal environment, we always recommend people to use OxyFlush. Because although you're drinking your water, you also may help to remove some of that blockage through the system, but it's not going to be eliminating the overload of the high levels of bacteria, the high levels of waste that have accumulated in the first place. That's why I would always recommend, alongside you increasing your water, to make sure you give your body a good cleanse with OxyFlush. Give your colon a good flush out your system, because it uses magnesium and oxygen to help to break down that waste matter that's accumulated in your colon and really flush out those impurities, flush out those toxins, and flush out those harmful bacteria that are causing your body or your mouth to have that bad breath. Having a water bottle that you fill up every day, again, it helps you to have and develop a habit for drinking water on a regular basis. And you can use a bottle that you reuse and make sure you fill it up in the morning, fill it up in the afternoon, fill it up in the evening. So you know at least you've had at least 3 litres or 3 times whatever that amount of that bottle can contain. If it's 750, it's going to give you 2.25 litres of water. Then you may have some additional hydration through herbal teas, infused water, or through smoothies or juices. But at least you've got something you do on a regular basis. Another thing we always recommend you to do is to increase your reminders. Everyone's got their alarm that they use to wake them up in the morning. But if you have a reminder that you can use to set to remind you when you need to drink water, that is another very good way of you managing your time and managing your hydration and your intention to maintain a good level of water drinking. So if you're not drinking enough during the day and you find that you're always busy because you've got a very hectic schedule, setting a reminder on your phone that's not going to go off until you know you've had that water is going to be another fantastic way to help you increase your hydration. They go and eat and fill their body up. And when they fill their body up, there's no space for water. And that cycle continues, and the same problem just happens over and over again. It starts to become compounded. So what we say to offset that or to counteract that is to start encouraging people to drink before they eat. Drink your water before you have your meal. Why is it important to drink your water before you have your meal? Remember we said earlier that the bowels rely on water to move the nutrient, move the food, move the waste through your system. So by you having the right amount of water in your body before you eat, it's going to give your body the tools and the resources that it needs to A, digest your food, B, absorb the nutrients, and C, remove the waste. Another good advantage of you drinking before your meals is that it's going to ensure that you don't overeat. Because if your body's already filled with the water, oftentimes, as we said, you're not always hungry. Sometimes you're thirsty. So by you make sure you've had your hydration, you drank before you eat, you may think, I actually don't need to eat, or I don't need to eat as much. So it helps you to regulate your portion size, have a little bit more portion control and discipline. There's different software you can use to help to track your water intake to make sure that you're always maintaining a regular balance of the levels of water your body needs compared to your usage. Having a water tracker that helps you to track your intake, helps you to manage and to regulate and modulate that whole process. Another good thing you can do, if you're not a person that likes drinking, you can actually start to eat your water. Because there are so many foods that are hydrating, that are full of water, that people either don't know about or don't actually incorporate them into their diet. So eating more hydrating foods is another fantastic way to get more water into your system. So you've got foods like cucumbers. Cucumbers are very high and dense in water. Watermelon, as the name is clues in the name. Watermelons are full of water, but they're also full of potassium, magnesium, zinc, and all the other electrolytes that are important for the regulation of your muscles and the heart and all the other important organs that rely on having good levels of electrolytes. Strawberries are fantastic. They're great for providing antioxidant support because they really help to get rid of the free radicals They're very red like the blood, so they help to build the blood and build the blood vessels and the blood cells. Strawberries are a very, very powerful tool in your arsenal of hydrating foods, as is lettuce. Lettuce is another very simple green, but is very rich in water and also carries a lot of minerals and nutrients that your body can definitely utilize and recognize because it's coming in a food form. And lastly, blueberries. Blueberries are a very, very, very good source of antioxidants. They're very, very rich in water and they're very, very easy to take. You just put them in your smoothie, you can add them to your salad, you can add them to your meals, or just snack on them. They're great food to snack on, blueberries. They have got a right amount of sugar, not too much sugar, but they give a little bit of energy as well. So they serve so many purposes, as well as providing the core, which is increasing your hydration. So we've set up a water challenge that enables you to join in and take part in a water drinking activity. Now, how you join our water drinking challenge is simple. You download our app from the App Store or the Play Store, depending on what phone you have, it's an iPhone or Android. You can go to your relevant app store and download the My Health Hub app. Download the My Health Hub app, and on the home page, you will see a banner or a poster that says 60-day water challenge. Click on the link, the water challenge. It's free to join. You simply press add or buy. It will add it to your basket. You don't pay anything for it, and you just register, and next thing you know, you're on the water challenge. Now, when you join the water challenge, you have a leaderboard. You have lots of other people from all over the world who've joined, and they're all trying to increase their water, their hydration levels by doing the water challenge. Every day you drink, or every time you drink, you click on the register, the tracker, and it registers your water. Each glass that we say for the water challenge is going to be at least 500 mils of water. If you drink 250, you've got to drink at least 2 times 250 in order for it to be recognized as one glass. So make sure you drink at least 500 mils of water, because the objective is to increase your water by making sure you drink the right amount. So when you do that, you put your name on the leaderboard, your levels of water gets recognized and registered, and every week you'll see the positions and you see the ranking of yourself compared to other people that have been doing the water challenge and participating and having a little bit of friendly competition as well. It's a lot of fun. And each week you'll see who is at the top of the leaderboard. You'll be able to report some of the changes and the benefits that you've noticed just from increasing your water by whatever level you commit to. So week 1, we say track your current water intake and gradually increase it to 8 glasses per day. Now that could be 8 times 200 ml glasses, 8 times 250, or if you really want to be ambitious, you can do 8 times 500 ml glasses of water, or 500 ml bottle, which is about 4 liters, which is a very good amount. That's going to be what we call a therapeutic amount that will have therapeutic benefits. If you're a person that has arthritis or back pain or joint pain or even high blood pressure, you will definitely notice a significant change. Week 2, experiment with different methods to increase your water and to make your water more palatable. Try out the herbal teas. Try out the infused water. Have an experiment with the hydrating foods. Try out the blueberries. Try them out. Experiment with, different courses for different horses. What may work for you may not work for somebody else, but what may work for somebody else, you may find it beneficial to you. So, share your ideas and exchange with other people, but make sure you experiment and find something that fits you and suits your palate. Week 3, incorporate more hydrating foods into your diet. And in week 4, reflect on how you felt compared to when you started, so you can make hydration a permanent habit. But it takes time building it up, doing it slowly, doing it consistently, and doing it on a daily basis. So that's the water drinking challenge. It's very easy to do. Download the app and get yourself involved in the challenge. So let's get drinking. Let's really get drinking. Let's really get our drink on. But now starting to see the importance of taking our health seriously, and more importantly, honoring our temple. So this is part 1 of honoring your temple and using the power of water, the irrefutable power of water, to increase our health, increase our wellness, and draw us closer to our Creator. So that's the end of my presentation. I want to thank you all for listening. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. God bless you.